weeks. So an inquiry is an established question that exhibits personal interest and curiosity, appropriate difficulty, and clear direction. And then they have to get a completed inquiry peer review sheet to ensure that established question is appropriate, and then a small product that displays learning and answers the question. So the way that this works, because the teachers will have other responsibilities with the other aspects of the independence, the inquiries are pretty much student contained. So they have a question that they have to ask. Usually I think it's going to be 2 per 9 weeks. And they'll have a rubric and everything, and they will say, I have this interest, I would like to know why we have an appendix, something like that. And then they have to write that question. The inquiry peer review sheet is where they would write the question, and then they have to get 3 peers to sign off on it, saying like, yes, this is a good question, this is going to be hard enough, it's going to take you 9 weeks to answer the question, it's interesting, it's difficult, and I can tell that you're going to do a good job with it. But to keep them from just like signing off on their friends' sheets, they actually get a grade. So at the end of the 9 weeks, if the product that they show, if the teacher recognizes that that wasn't a good enough question, or it wasn't well established, that the people who signed off on it will be docked on their daily grade. They have that's part of their grades for the inquiries, is signing off on other people's sheets. So if it's deemed to be insufficient because of a lacking established question, all students who signed off on that specific question will be counted off on their own daily grades of inquiry peer review slip. So that's pretty much student contained, and they'll have to manage that on their own. At the very end, the teachers will grade the products just based on, is this completed? Did you put in effort? Can I tell that you put in effort? But they don't have to necessarily know all about the question, because there's no way that the teachers would be able to keep up with so many students asking so many different questions. And then the individual exploration, I don't know if I have this in there yet. The individual exploration is like a mini ISM for 9th and 10th graders that I've created. 9th and 10th graders are going to be less mature, they can't drive, so I would never expect them to go on 5 in-person interviews. So they'll have to do 5 phone interviews, and also it's only a semester long, so they don't have to commit to something for so long, and they're not going to really be going into depth. It's just kind of seeing, is this something I want to do? Do I want to be a lawyer? And then they do 5 phone interviews, and that's all they need, and they discover it's a little too much paperwork, I don't actually want to do that. I thought it was going to be very different. So at the beginning, for 9th and 10th grade, those are just kind of them testing the waters of a career, of something that they think might be interesting. And then the independent study and mentorship is for 11th and 12th graders, and it's very similar to the program that I am in now, which I feel like is a great program. And so then by the end of graduation, they will have completed a lot of inquiries, depends on how many questions I decide that they have to do every 9 weeks. But then they'll have 4 semester-long research projects and 2 year-long research projects, which is a lot more individualized. I feel like that's the only way to actually individualize the learning, rather than doing, there's all kinds of things about STEM schools, fine arts schools, but I like being in classes with people who are fine arts oriented. Even being in the same English class as them is enriching for both of us. And I don't think it's appropriate to split them apart and pretend like those 2 things are very separate. So I want them to be with other people who are gifted in other areas than them, but still be able to pursue their own interests. So as I've realized over the past 2 years, the future leaders of innovation and creativity are being educated in our schools right now. Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple, a wildly influential company, as I'm sure you all know, says this: "Here's to the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They invent, they imagine, they heal, they explore, they create, they inspire. They push the human race forward. Maybe they have to be crazy, but while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius, because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. I fear that we're not doing enough to encourage creativity and innovation in our current schools, particularly for the gifted. We can't afford to continue the way we are, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to create a school where we can. So thank you to my parents for listening to my crazy rants about education, and also for the brainstorming about all kinds of things with this product. To my sisters and friends for giving me a social life outside of this project, even when sometimes it consumed me. Mrs. Holton, thank you so much for your endless help and encouragement. I truly could not have done this without your help. And most importantly, to my wonderful teachers from throughout the years who encouraged me and showed me how exciting and fun learning can be, and really inspired this passion in education in me. Thank you everyone so much for attending tonight, and I'd like to take a few questions.
So did you come up with a name for your school?
Nope. That's still coming. I'm so torn. I don't know. That's the hardest